Hi, I'm Louise from The Whole Dog.
And I'm Louise from Wandering with Dogs Facebook group.
Today on Pondering About Dogs, we're chatting all things getting out and about with your dog this summer.
In this first episode, we speak about barriers that prevent us from getting out and about with our dogs and how we can overcome them so we find the adventure in every day.
We certainly had fun recording it and we hope you enjoy it.
Everybody, and welcome. I am Lou from The Whole Dog, and we also have Louise from Wandering with Dogs Facebook group. We often have many conversations, don't we?
That are quite deep and important. We talk about important stuff, don't we?
Sometimes. It's not so important. It depends.
Yeah. But we often have conversations when we get off the phone or at the end of the conversation where people need to hear what we're saying. People would benefit from hearing what we're saying.
Yeah, and I think it's maybe a bit selfish of us to keep all these thoughts just between us, because there's a lot of things going on in life and dogs, and we're coming up to that part of the year where we want to get out, we want to do fun stuff, but there's lots of pieces of that puzzle, and we thought we'd explore some of the thoughts in our brain today.
And see if we can unravel them. So
yeah,
you said something, was it yesterday? You said about how many summers your dog's got.
Oh, don't.
So I've got Casper, who is nearly 11. How many summers have we got left? I don't know.
It's really quite a sobering point to make, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really kind of brings you back to the moment, to the now, realising that. Luna's 7. You know, I hope I've got another good 7 summers with her, at least, but we don't know.
But even that, isn't it? Like 7, it doesn't feel that long.
No. And it's not something we want to think about in that way.
No, but in thinking about it in that way, do you not think I'm at that age where I forget words, right? Just putting that out there. I can often forget mid-sentence.
She's not wrong. We talk a lot. She's not wrong.
What's the word? Focuses. Yeah.
I thought you said foxes.
Focus.
That makes more sense than fox. Okay.
It does, doesn't it? It helps focus your mind, your thoughts, your priorities.
Yeah. And it's not that winters with our dogs aren't good either, but it's
different. Different. Yeah.
You know, it's at this time of the year the light nights are coming in, the lighter mornings. And as a human who has dogs of different needs, that brings different feelings. On one hand, I'm excited because I've got more time, there's more daylight, there's more opportunities to get out and about. But on the other hand, that causes me concern. You know?
Yeah. And very much like you, I have a dog that I can't wait to get out and about with, and a dog who, for pretty much the same reasons you've got, I am not looking forward as much because of what it all brings. More people, more dogs, more things that you have to think about, and more things that you have to have in place, I think, in order to be able to get out.
But I think even that thought in itself, whether you've got a super sociable dog, a dog that's got their own feelings about the world, it's overwhelming. Even just saying that they are, you've got to have things in place and think about things. And this is stuff I never used to think about in any great detail. But when you start to think about it, you're like, oh my goodness, like, what am I going to do?
Mhm.
And that can be from both sides of the situation. Getting out and about, you want your dog to have some freedom. Their recall's maybe a bit questionable, or you've got a dog with big feelings about the world, and you're worried about how that's going to impact them, impact you. There's a lot of moving parts to it, really.
Yeah, without a doubt. But knowing where to start, isn't it? Where do you start with all of that?
At the beginning. Where is the beginning? We come from this in very different angles, but also the same. I have a dog trainer in my day-to-day life. Louise is an explorer and an adventurer and a motivator, I think, is your perspective on things. I think so.
Nice.
That's my perspective. You might see
That's
it
cool.
differently.
That's
You
cool.
might see it differently.
Yeah.
I think your mission is to get people out and to get people thinking about the adventures that they can have, those fun summers that they can have, and not just summer, but you're looking at the perspective of the human, a lot of it, not just the dog. Same with us, we're not just looking at the dog aspect, the human aspect is equally important in that picture.
Yeah, I just on that whole point of adventuring, particularly, it's not about like packing a big rucksack and going off for days on end. It's not about that. It's about those small little moments in every day, whether that's at your local park, whether that's going down a street you haven't been down before, or whether it is going up a hill. I say hill, not mountain. I'm not in mountain stage yet. But it is, and it's about those like little moments, isn't it, that just help you get through every day.
Yeah, and I think for you over the last little while, that's been incredibly important in your life. I think it's important in all of our lives. We have dogs because we want them to enjoy the world. We want to enjoy them. And there's so many benefits of getting out and about. Mental health, physical health for both you and your dog. Seeing new places, having fun, making memories. There's so much enjoyment to be found, but it can also feel like a big barrier.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, because when you don't have, think again, conversation that we had a couple of days ago, thinking back to where we were when I got Casper, you brought Luna home, our knowledge level was nowhere near where it is now.
Nope.
Thinking back to who we were then, where would we have started?
I think I tried things. Like I did stuff. And I think a lot of that stuff was like not from a place of knowledge as such. It was more just figuring it out. We've got two very different breeds. You've got Cocker Spaniel, I've got Border Collie. Very different in terms of breeds and what the things that they like to do. But we didn't have any guidance as such. I would have liked that. I think.
Yeah.
Looking back, I would have found that really beneficial.
My love of lists and notebooks would have really loved that. A nice little checklist to work through would have been really.
See, I'm the opposite. I love a notebook, but lists are not my thing. I think for me, it would be sort of like visual steps.
Right. Okay.
Things like what to go on, knowing what I was going to come across, that sort of thing. Because Luna at that age and when we first started this journey together, and always has been very sensitive, so I've always been very considerate about what we're going to come across. And if I knew what I was going to find or what I needed to do to navigate that, I probably would have tried more than not knowing, which has definitely gotten us stuck at times, the not knowing.
Yeah, yeah. But the flip side of that, and again, the more I learn and the more I grow as a person, the more I think you have to try stuff
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
and see what works, see what doesn't work, but from perhaps a different lens than a lot of people, dog owners,
Yeah.
see it as, because I think you can see stuff and interpret it in a way like humans do, um, but it's not actually what's going on.
So kind of almost
So yeah.
taking a step back and looking at
Mm,
it in that sort
mhm,
of bigger
mhm, mhm.
picture view than that linear, this is in front of
Yeah,
me.
yeah. But I definitely think there's something in doing stuff and trying it. Even for the people like myself who don't like to get things wrong, who like to who like a
Say
plan and like
nothing.
to work through it and get to the end point and it does exactly what it says on the tin. Yeah, I don't think particularly dog training, I don't think it works like that, does it?
No, no, unfortunately not. There's so many things to consider if we're looking at
Mm,
these skills that are really going to benefit the dogs, benefit
mm,
us when getting out and about together. You know, if we train something at home and we think it's amazing, you know, that recall from the garden is phenomenal. You blow your whistle, say your cue, whatever it is, won't back to you. That's not in the environment that you're intending to use it in.
mhm,
And I think that's why our motorway analogy always comes in quite useful. You know, we don't learn to drive cars on the motorway. Our instructors don't take us there straight off the bat. They take us somewhere quiet, industrial estate, car park, quiet little cul-de-sac, and we put
mhm,
all those skills together. And then we start to move towards those gradually, progressively harder environments when we've got
mhm,
the skills to be able to cope with that. And I think as humans, inadvertently, we're very guilty of sticking our dog on the motorway after we've taught them something.
mm,
The dog then can't cope with those distractions, those things in the environment that are not in that quiet cul-de-sac, aren't in that car park. They fail, and we think, oh well, that's it. That didn't work.
yeah, it didn't work. Mhm,
Can't do it again. Didn't
mm,
work.
mm,
And it kind of fits in with that bigger picture thinking, and instead of looking at that moment as this didn't work, why didn't it work?
mhm.
Did we go too
Yeah.
fast? Is that skill not as robust as we'd like it to be? Have we not spent enough time in that area, and we've then maybe just went that wee step too far? You know, even if you look at a dual carriageway to a motorway, that's a big step.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although they're, you know,
Mm,
similar in what they are,
mm.
they're different.
So on that, again, another conversation we've had fairly recently, thinking back to Casper, and I'd gone to see a trainer and for lead walking, and the sessions, fantastic. I had somebody there tell me what to do in that moment without
Mm-hmm.
any explanation of the bigger picture. I went home, did the things, didn't work.
How did that make you feel?
Incredibly frustrated.
At him or you or both?
Both, I think, if I'm honest. More so towards him because I deemed that he wasn't able to do the thing. And then frustrated because, well, where did that leave me? And, I've been to a trainer, I have looked for help, got the help, it didn't work. So, well, we're stuck now, aren't we? Um, I didn't have any idea of environment and just nearly swore, how important, how
I think
important
a
and
wee swear
how,
every now and again is okay. I think we'll be
okay, right,
alright.
okay.
I think it's
Um,
okay.
and how much we don't consider it, I think. Um,
I
but how
didn't.
demote, no, because why would you?
I didn't.
Because you see your dog doing the thing or being taught the thing, and if it's not working, then, well, there's something wrong with the dog.
Or me.
It's I think I kind of did there's something wrong with the dog, and well, this is just going to how it's going to be. But yeah.
And we're humans. We're not dogs.
Mm-mm.
We're
Yeah.
not. We don't truly see the world the way that they see them.
Mm.
We can only expand our knowledge to try and get an understanding of what might be going on for them.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at it very much like when I look at behavior, I look at it like an iceberg. We see those symptoms on the top. We see the pulling on the lead. We see the ignoring the recall, the lunging at dogs, the barking at people. But that's just your surface level stuff. That's the symptoms of whatever's going on underneath. Like if you go to the doctors and you're like, I've got a sore toe, they're going to start asking you questions to try and determine what the root cause of that pain is.
Mm-hmm.
But with our dogs as humans, we just see the surface stuff because that's the bit that's impacting us as humans or impacting our dog's life.
Mm-hmm.
That we can
And
visually
what we're able to do.
Yeah, when actual fact, I would say when we come to like loose lead walking in particular, big frustration for people. I can totally understand it. You know, Luna's not a big dog by any means, but when she pulls, it hurts. Not that she does it often now, but I remember when I brought her home, I fell pregnant quite not long after, and I remember walking her heavily pregnant, like I can't do this. It was physically sore, and I would get upset because I'm like I can't deal with this. So I know it must be a real stressor in lots of ways, physically, mentally. Nobody wants to walk out the door and be dragged down the street or dragged towards dogs or whatever it is that's going on for that particular dog.
No, because then that stops you. It puts a block in place, doesn't it? It's well, I can't go and have those walks. I can't go and do that. And I think this is perhaps a very personal point of view, but if I'm not going out for a walk with my dog, I'm not going out for a walk.
That's interesting.
I
get that. I do. It actually feels weird to me to walk anywhere without.
It just feels wrong.
With me.
It just feels
We
wrong.
can do it though. That is actually okay to go for a walk without your dog.
Apparently, it's a thing you can do, but
and also it's okay to not walk your dog if you don't feel like it. Just another totally out there point. But loose lead walking is the one that I find, and I'm sure Kira, the other half of the whole dog, would agree, is a very emotive one. But we're looking at the skills to get the dog to understand what we're asking. But a lot of it's very emotive for the dog. Can they just not cope in the environment that you're asking them to walk in? Are they distracted by stuff? Are they overwhelmed by stuff? Like we need to address all these little parts before you're going to get the skill that you would like to have with your dog. Because if we are overwhelmed, if we are stressed, if we are frustrated, if we are excited, it's not the time to say, like, Louise, let's learn to do this, because you're not there. It's not.
You're not in, and I think that is a really, really important point. If your dog is like their arousal level, their excitement level is kind of up here, they are physically not physiologically not in the right headspace to actually learn. And
that's
think,
when we try to learn. That's when we try to teach. That's the moment we try to bring that learning in, because that's when that frustration is happening in the moment. We're like, right, okay, I'll do this little game that I've seen on YouTube or whatever, but the dog's not with them. There's no connection there. The Wi-Fi connection has dropped.
It's completely dropped out. No, so you've got the human here, and the dog here, and instead of kind of walking along like this, they're just poles apart, aren't they? They're not even in the same book, let alone the same home page.
And I think that's the point where people really either get so incredibly frustrated or give up. I think that's one of the give up points, because as humans, we're going to feel that emotionally. We're not doing a good job. My dog's stupid. My dog's stubborn. I want a refund. This one's not not working
Oh, I've had that
correctly.
thought many a time.
Oh, definitely. There's definitely times I feel it too.
Yeah.
And that's a really valid point. We're not immune to these feelings. We understand it maybe a bit deeper than the average person, but we still feel it.
Yeah, without a doubt, because we are human, aren't we? And it's so, the human brain is wired to think negatively.
Yes, that's a really valid point. Yep.
So you've really got to work against your own wiring to think about it in a different way.
I think that's a whole topic in itself.
Yeah,
I think that would
yeah,
need to be
yeah,
another chat.
yeah.
That's a big one. But yeah.
Yeah. But so again, not just for the dog training in that moment, but for you as well. It's just it's not worth it.
Like the time to train your dog or to work with your dog, to teach your dog, is not when you've had a 10-hour day and you came home and you need to take the dog out. Like that's not the loose lead
No.
walking training time.
No way,
Like,
Jose.
you're not in a good headspace.
No.
And it goes both ways. Dog not in good headspace, not good time. Human not in
Yeah.
good headspace, not good time. It's
No.
very it's not linear
No.
in any respect.
But how on that then, how important are those little blocks, making sure your dog feels all right, they've been fed, they're in a calm place, they've got all their needs met. That, I think, is probably a bigger part of the picture than the actual training steps.
I think training, without going off on a rant, is a tiny part of everything. Yes, it's teaching them the skills. Yes, it's working on how we communicate what it is that we want and getting that behaviour that we want to repeat. But it's all the other bits. If your dog doesn't have a good relationship with you, or you don't have a good relationship with your dog, nobody's going to enjoy this process. If you're putting too much pressure on your dog, putting too much pressure on yourself, nobody's going to love it. It's about just taking those moments. When I train with my own dogs, I don't know about you, but I think you're pretty similar. It's when we're already doing other fun stuff. It just becomes as a natural byproduct of this is just what we do in our day to day. We'll maybe spend a bit of time working on recall or working on tricks or whatever, but it just comes as part of life.
Yeah.
It's not really a set thing, but I know we are dog trainers. We view things a little bit differently because of our experiences, and we genuinely love this to the point that we actually do it for a living. And not everybody wants to have that same skill level. I don't know if that's the right word.
Yeah.
But
Skill level, knowledge. It's not.
And
for
you don't
everybody,
need
is it?
to. You don't need to. Unless, I mean, if you want to learn to be a dog trainer or learn more about dog behavior, absolutely go for it. It's going to make your dog life better at the end of the day. But we're all busy people. We both get kids, we both get dogs, we both get businesses, we've both got other big life stuff, family stuff. It can feel like never ending.
Yeah.
It just goes on and on and on and on, and there's never an end. And I get asked a lot, when will things get better? How long will it take to quote unquote fix this? There's not really an end.
No, it's
Which is
ongoing, isn't it?
frustrating for people that want to know, when's this going to be fixed? What can I do? All that sort of stuff. But there isn't a solid answer of timing or time scale.
Yeah, because, and I think this is another key part, each dog is individual, just like you and I. We're both women. We've both, like what you've just said, we've both got kids, we've both got businesses. It's very, very similar, but very, very different. Our needs are both different. And that whole comparison thing, when you see other dogs walking nicely on a loose lead down the street, it's very easy to fall into that trap of, why can't my dog do that?
Yeah.
But yeah, you need to, as hard as it is, kick that one out the door and very much focus on the dog that you've
Yeah.
got in front of you.
It's easy, isn't it, to walk down the park and see the dog that's doing the thing. Even, they could potentially be the same breed, the same colour, the same age.
Mm.
And you're like, why is my dog not the same as that dog that I've literally just watched do the thing that I'm trying to teach my dog how to do, and it's not working? There's so many factors that are variable on that: genetic, environment, that other person's time that they spend with their dog, that they're maybe able to spend a lot more time with their dog training than you are, and that's not, a reflection on how much you love your dog or how much you want to teach your dog. There's so many different variables in life that impact everything. But getting stuck on that dog can do it and mine can't isn't helpful to your dog.
No.
And it isn't helpful to you.
No, it detracts from, it takes away from if you're focused on this loose lead and you have all these things kind of, it just interferes with where you're trying to get to, I think.
Yeah. And I think we make it too big. We make the training thing too big. It becomes an extra chore. It becomes, I need to go train the dog. I need to go and do this with the dog. But finding moments where you're not doing anything anyway. So our favourites are like kettle training. You do that as well. Pot of treats next to the kettle, train the dog, blah, 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 blah. 3 minutes. That's like what? If you did 3 minutes, 7 days a week.
It soon mounts up, doesn't it?
It does. It does. If you did that every day for a month, 3 minutes. Good. And I mean, we teach 45-minute classes. And in all honesty, I'd prefer them to be 10 minutes. But nobody wants to come for a class for 10 minutes because I don't train my dog for 45 minutes. That's a lot.
Yeah.
For me, it's a lot for my dog. But, we have things in our classes to make sure the dogs are feeling relaxed and happy, and we're having breaks in between. It's not constantly like train. But ideally, we want to just be doing short, frequent, and fun. That's our sort of motto on it. It doesn't need to become a big, giant thing.
No, and I think that in itself is a problem, isn't it? Kind of trying to break away from that thought of, I need to train my dog, I need an hour, I need an hour and a half. We need to, it's not about that, because then that in itself becomes far too big or too much to think about, to cope with, to actually go and do. Whereas a few minutes every day, you will see progress. And it's not this big massive thing.
Yeah. And I think that's the key to everything. When I look at the things that my dogs know and the things that your dogs know, they weren't taught in giant chunks of time. They were taught over a period of time, and just that consistency and putting in little bits of time here and there. My dogs would check out if I tried to train and teach them for an hour.
Yeah.
They'd be like, I'm done. See you later. Yeah. Thanks very much.
Yeah, without a doubt.
That's enough for me.
Without a doubt. I think Ember's got a bit more staying power than Casper.
Yeah, I get that. I think it's boys.
But even then, it's, yeah.
So what do we do to help people? The first thing in my mind is realizing that you're not getting it wrong. There's no right or wrong. And it's not, as we said before, not a set time frame, but just having that little bit of a goal in your mind. It doesn't even need to be like a big goal. It doesn't need to be like the way in the future giant goal, because there's all these little goals along the way. And I think we miss those. Like, say you got 3 steps out the door and it was loosely walking. That's a goal. That's great.
Yeah.
Smashed it.
And I think the more you think about training in that way, the more you can see progress, and the more progress you see, the more likely you are to keep going.
Definitely.
and actually get to that end goal, and not end up with well, it's not working, so I'll just ditch it, or I'll just not bother anymore.
Yeah.
So people that come to your classes,
obviously
that training takes place at your unit.
It does.
Very nice unit, by the way. I've seen it.
Thank you.
It's very, very nice.
We love it very much.
It is a cracking setting.
Love it.
Not jealous at all. So the training takes place there. What do you think the people who come to your classes should then go and do?
So I think that's very dependent on the dog, because we obviously teach baby puppies, we teach adolescents, we teach adults. And again, like we said, every dog's individual, their learning style is individual, what they can cope with is individual. But I think the first thing to look at is, what is your dog's motorway? So by motorway, I mean, what is those situations that you find those ears are off, there's nobody home, no matter what you say, do, they don't want to eat treats, they may not want to play, their mind is everywhere else but you. So that gives you a clue that that's a motorway for your dog. For my collies, it's usually somewhere near cars, moving things, so it can have a genetic sort of feel to it. You've got a spaniel and a Vizsla, very sniffy breeds by their genetic design, but looking at what really trips your dog up. Are they really sociable with other dogs? So if you went down the local park on a Saturday afternoon, it's busy, probably going to be a motorway. If you've got a sniffy dog and you go into the woods and there's just been a ton of squirrels and whatnot, that's a motorway.
Yeah.
Motorways are very individual, but if you don't know where it's going to be hard, you're not going to be able to set those progression steps. Obviously, we start at the unit. We can, for the most part, control the environment. Distractions are pretty minimal. And that's where we want to learn. That's the quiet cul-de-sac. That's the car park. That's the way that we want to start our classes. We do take classes out and about into the real world, and we're very deliberate about progressing those environments. Obviously, we can't tailor it to one individual dog motorway, but we try to kind of give a broad spectrum of what's potentially a motorway. And once you identify that, break it down. Where's those progression steps towards that? Say you want to walk up, a Monroe. You might come across sheep, you might come across people, you might come across other dogs, you might come across terrain that's going to be difficult, lots of smells. So try and think about, how do I get from this beginning environment to here? Because we make those steps too big, and somewhere along the middle it goes tits up, and then we give up, and we never get to the Monroe, we never get to the quiet cul-de-sac either. We've just thrown in the towel. So it's just taking that time, looking at your dog and what they find difficult, and try and make it easier. Set up those training situations in a way that's going to benefit them working towards that motorway. And if you run the Wandering with Dogs Facebook group, that's all about getting out and about. People are going to have different wants of environments that they want to walk and be out in. That could be countryside, it could be beach. They're very different. A lot of sniffy dogs are more responsive to cues on the beach because the smells are less. You take them into the woodland and they're like, bye-bye.
I'm off.
Yeah, so you're going to have different people within there with different goals. So then the approach is always to what they need, if that makes sense.
Yes, yeah. And I think, going back to an earlier point of, look, when you do go out into these places and you're doing some training or just being with your dog, when you're back home and you're in a headspace to actually think about what your dog did, think about what was going on, just like take some time to reflect on what's happened, and try, as hard as it is, to take the emotion out of it, because that's not helpful.
And I think reflecting on it is beneficial for both, quote unquote, good and bad.
Without a doubt. I think as a species, we don't spend enough time thinking about the good stuff.
No.
I think a lot of us are wired to see the problems first, and we don't take time to stop and appreciate, like, just the joy in being with your dog and your dog being with you.
Yeah. And I think on that note, I think we'll start to kind of wrap things up. But what would be your top 5 tips for people getting out with a dog? Put me on the spot. If you had 5 things at the top of your mind, what would you say?
Your frame of mind, I think.
Yep.
I think without a doubt, if you're in a bad headspace, no, don't.
Yeah, or go somewhere really quiet where you don't need to deal with stuff.
Yes, yeah, there's that aspect, isn't it? Like thinking about where you're actually going to go. So I think that's probably actually number 1. Think about where you're going to go to suit you and your dog, whatever level training your dog's at.
Yep.
Number 2, I think give your dog time. So less of that, more of that.
We find that difficult.
Yeah, and just give your dog time to look, watch, process, and just be in the environment that you're in.
Yeah, really good advice.
Number 3. What's number 3?
I really put her on the spot now.
Yes, you have.
Can see the brain cog turning.
I'm surprised you can't hear them. I think I say this an awful lot, and I know you do as well. Equipment. Equipment.
Yeah, definitely.
So I know you have harnesses. I certainly have harnesses for my dogs. So if we're going somewhere new and I'm not quite sure what we're going to encounter, harness, long line.
Yeah.
Just to give your dog time to move if they need to kind of just to give them that time to adjust to wherever they are without being on a mega short lead and having to be in a certain position and not be able to do whatever they need to do in the moment.
Sorry, my phone was about to die, but Louise isn't getting off that easily on our 5 top tips. We got to number 3. she thought for a second that she was going to get out of this.
Yeah, and not have to engage brain.
You've had a chance to think now.
I have had a chance to think.
Okay, go for it.
Well, number 4, I think, is this is what I see out and about, or I don't see out and about, rather. I don't see people rewarding the dogs. Like, for the simple things, just your dog looking at you, focusing on you, reward it. Anything that you want to see more of, reward. And rewards are a complete,
that's
a topic on its own.
We'll maybe get on to that another day. But just if your dog does something you like, say thank you.
Yeah. And then they go, oh, hang on, that thing worked. I'll do more of it.
Yeah, totally agree with that one. Right, number 5, drum roll.
And number 5 is be present with your dog. So I do not take these out on a walk.
See, I've got a little bit of a caveat to that, but I'll explain that in a minute. I'll let you carry on. Okay.
So sometimes I do, if I'm expecting a phone call, then I will, because it's much easier to stick these in my ear than hold a phone. But I find listening to music, podcasts, anything like that, I am somewhere else and I'm not in that moment with my dog. And I think that is whatever I'm doing, particular with, hang on, which side is she? That one there. I don't the idea how hard that is to work out where to put your foot down when your camera's pointing in the opposite direction. Right, yeah, that the ginger one that's on the sofa. Whatever
I
we're
thoroughly
doing,
enjoyed that. Sorry.
be it out walking, be it doing some training, be it doing scent work, the biggest enjoyment I get, and I kind of want to say she gets, is that we're together in whatever moment we're in.
I love that. I'm going to challenge your thoughts on that with mine.
Okay.
We are different people in a lot of ways. We're also very similar, which is why we got on so well. But I like, for me and my emotional level, to have an earphone in with my favourite music playing.
Okay.
I find it relieves my stress, especially when I'm out with Luna. Having something in my brain that isn't just the stuff that I'm worried about or preempting just kind of keeps me present. I would say I'm absolutely present with her. I'm not scrolling on my phone. I will phone people when I'm walking the dog occasionally, but that's when it's, it's pretty standard. I know where we're going. There's no
no surprises
worries
lurking.
there. No. Because often I'm having to multitask, imagine. But I very much do try and be completely present with them. Blue, I'm doing a lot of heel work training at the moment, and I like the beat of the music.
Right, okay.
I feel like it keeps me in a bit of a flow.
Yeah.
But I'm not so in tune to what's in my ear that I'm not focusing on my dogs or what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But we have different brains. I have ADHD. That helps me focus. And that's been a part of my life from a long time. Like at school, headphones in my ears, studying, riding horses, headphones in my ears, all that sort of stuff. So I suppose that's maybe been a lifelong creation, like an association with doing stuff. But I do fully agree with being present with them.
Yeah. So whatever that looks like for you, for me, I like any noise takes me away from where I want to be. Whereas for you, it's obviously that actually brings you closer to where you want to be. But the goal is the same, is to be present with your dog.
Yeah. I don't think, listening to music or having phone calls or all that sort of stuff should take away from that time. It should be either, remove it so that you can be present if that's going to distract you, or, even if I've got a headphone in, I always only have one in so that I'm aware of the environment on the other side, because there's nothing worse than people with headphones and you're trying to communicate to them, you're like, hello, and they're not listening. But I guess it's kind of the same. It's just being in that moment together.
Yeah. Yes.
Wherever you're walking, even if it's just the boring street walk, it's their time out of the house. At the end of the day, it's their time out. And I'm not going to start on this topic because we are the keeper of everything.
We will go down a massive rabbit hole.
We would, and we'd lose people because like, oh my good God, they're still going. This is our life. This is it between us a lot of the time.
Yeah, it is.
But I think those are really valid points on getting out and about with your dog. 100%. 100%. And I think they're very similar from a training perspective. Equipment really matters, being present, being in the moment, rewarding them. I think it's all very similar. There's not a huge amount of difference there.
No.
I guess maybe if I was to add one in from a training perspective would be, it's about your dog, not about you. A lot of the time. Sorry, not about you. Yes, we have our human wants and needs and dreams and aspirations, and I'm not saying that you're not going to achieve those. Absolutely not. I'm not saying that. But it kind of goes back to what you were saying, like, look at the dog in front of you. Where are they now? Meet them where they're at now. Don't be almost, I don't want to use the word punishing, but almost punishing them for not being where you want them to be.
Yeah, not being who you want them to be. I think that is a conversation all on its own.
Yes, it is.
That's a big one.
It is a big one. And it's one I've felt as a human. And I know you have.
Oh, yes.
But I think the main points from us on this topic is try stuff. Have fun. Be with them.
Don't beat yourself up. Don't beat them up.
Yep. And if something's not working, why?
Yeah.
How can we help? If it was a human struggling, we would say, how can I help you? How can I help?
Mhm.
They can't verbally say that to us, but by looking at their behaviour, we can kind of step in and be like, what can I do to support you? Instead of looking at it from a human frustration or a human emotional point of view. I think you said earlier on, like taking the emotion out of it. Look at it more as behaviour is just information. What's the dog trying to say? They try to tell us.
Yeah, because they are. Whatever they're doing, they're trying to communicate something.
And listen more. Shut up and listen. Yeah.
On that
I hope
note,
people find this useful. If you'd like any more of our rambles, there's plenty. I think we found at least 3 topics in the last little bit that we could expand on. We do this regularly on the phone. We have many, many conversations. I'd love to know how many hours we've spent having these conversations over the last, 5 years?
Oh, crikey. Yeah. I think we'll lose. I think it goes into weeks now.
Oh, easy.
Not hours.
Not months.
Yeah.
But yeah, the message I think we're trying to say is get out and about with your dog, try stuff. If you need help, it's here. Whether that's, in your aspect with your Facebook group, ideas, tips, tricks, support. And there's lots of amazing trainers all over the country. We're here in Ayrshire, and there's all it doesn't need to be this way forever if there's a struggle.
No.
And if you're not quite knowing what to do to go and have fun, we can certainly give you some ideas.
Yes, without a doubt.
Perfect. Well, I think we'll end it there for today. It's been a pleasure, as always, Natalie.
Yes.
And yeah, we'll maybe see these guys again and see what you think.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I'd like to see them.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. Smashing. I shall see you later.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.